Terence Crawford signs a new multi-year deal with Top Rank, and his next opponent is announced, Jose Benavidez. Stay tuned. Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Well, we got some action in the welterweight division. Now, I'm out here in New York getting ready for this Danny Garcia versus Shawn Porter welterweight championship fight for the WBC title. And I got the emails from Top Rank. There were some announcements with Terence Crawford's career. A brand new welterweight, brand new champion. His first fight at welterweight, he became a champion. In the fight I covered, he destroyed Jeff Horn, something that Pacquiao was unable to do. I did think Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn, but nonetheless, he didn't look sensational, if you will. And it was a close fight, really up to the eye testing and what you decided who you want to give the rounds to. But Terence Crawford signed a multi-year deal. That's what the email said, with Top Rank. So he's going to be on board with them. Obviously, he's content. I know some people are upset, like, oh man, you should have went over to Al Heyman. Al Heyman got this deal, and he has all the, we all know that Al Heyman has majority of the top level welterweights, right? But obviously, it's not as easy as just making the switch. People do this all the time where they'll work at a company and they've been there for 6, 7, 8 years. They know the processes, they know their manager, they know what's expected of them. It's a certain proximity away from their house, right? They have a family to take care of. So you got to look at everything. You got to look at loyalty. Sometimes you know what people did for you. Maybe, I can't really give examples because I don't know Terence Crawford's situation, but what if he needed a mentor, like legal advice, and somebody from Top Rank, Todd DeBuff, or someone gave it to him when he had that situation at the auto body shop? You don't know. Those things account for something, So obviously, he likes his situation. I heard he's going to get a good amount of money per fight, a couple million every time he fights. ESPN has some money to splurge, I believe, and he's one of the top fighters over there, so he likes his position, so I'm not here to judge that. However, Bob Arum has been on record. The good news is this: he's been on record, unlike years ago where he was bad-mouthing everything that is Al Heyman. He was suing Al Heyman and things like that. Recently, Bob Arum has actually changed his tune. He's actually worked with Al Heyman on Crawford fights. John Molina, as you guys know, he's getting ready to fight Victor Ortiz. He's with Al Heyman, and Crawford fought him. That's another fight I covered. And Felix Diaz is a Lou DiBella fighter who's with Al Heyman. Terence Crawford fought him. So we're just waiting for Terence Crawford versus one of the big names like Garcia Porter winner, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence. We're hoping for those types of fights. Now, that's basically what's up with Terence Crawford and his upcoming career. He likes his situation. His opponent was also announced October 13th on regular ESPN, which is definitely a plus. I don't think, no pun intended, but I don't think Terence Crawford should have been on the ESPN Plus app, especially as it's new and still developing. And it's his fight with Jeff Horn. I had a lot of people reaching out to me. They didn't even know how to get to it. They didn't know how to get it. They didn't have it. And they're like, man, this is too much work. I'm going to stream it or I'm not going to watch it. I'll watch your YouTube recap. That's literally what someone told me, right? So I'm glad that Crawford is back on regular ESPN because he's the type of fighter that can lure casuals in. This man is skilled. He's gifted. He's talented. He's showing showmanship, sticking his tongue out, getting knockouts, overall looking impressive. So those are the type of fighters you don't want them relegated to an app. I understand streaming is the future and everyone's going to some kind of subscription-based platform, but that takes time, and I think Crawford has earned, he's one of the best fighters Top Rank has, if not the best, in terms of accomplishments and everything considered, right? So I like the move of him not being relegated to an app. Vasyl Lomachenko ain't had a fight on ESPN Plus and all that. So I think it's a good move. That makes me happy. The fight is happening October 13th in Omaha, and he's fighting Jose Benavidez, right? I think it's a really good fight. Now let's break down the fight. The two don't like each other, or at least from a competitive sportsmanship aspect. There's been some banter. They had that run-in in Texas at the weigh-ins, and Crawford famously said, focus on your fight before you not make it to your fight. Focus on your fight before you not... He's basically saying in layman's terms, Jose Benavidez had a fight. This was at the weigh-in, so this was a Friday before a Saturday fight night. And Bomac was one of the commentators for ESPN, and Crawford obviously there was supporting his trainer and, you know, just checking out a top-ranked card. And they had that little run-in. He's basically saying, like, hey, you better focus on what you got to do, the business you got to handle tomorrow, because we can step outside right now and we can handle this, and then you won't be able to make it to your other fight because you're going to take an L with me. That's basically how I interpret it. Jose Benavidez was, you know, I think he's the one that maybe pulled up. I don't know how it started. I just seen cameras rolling. But either way, the two have had banter. Jose Benavidez has said that he and his team were down to fight Crawford, called him out, and allegedly, according to him, there's been multiple offers and multiple times where Terence Crawford could have fought him, and it was offered to him, and he's claiming that Terence Crawford turned it down and like didn't want it at those times. So the time is now. Now, I don't know what people are doing. This is a really good fight, and you have to understand the boxing, right? You have to be realistic. Top Rank, we know they like to do a lot of in-house fights, but this is actually a good in-house fight. You know, you can't honestly expect for Crawford to move up to welterweight, fight a champion his first fight, achieve the WBO belt easily, beat up on Jeff Horn and stop him, something Pacquiao couldn't do, something no one had done because he was undefeated. And then you expect him to fight Garcia Porter, and they're just about to fight. That's not realistic for October, you know? See, there's a lot of dumbass fans in the comment section, and they it's like they just, you remember Biggie when he had the Mad Rapper? He's like, yo, who was you to be talking about this? He's like, I still live at mom. They making wild money. Like, some of you guys are like mad boxing fans. That's not what we about over here on New Media. It's not just about complaining and griping and stuff. It has to make sense. You know, some of you guys just want to complain, but your complaints are not realistic. You know, oh, Terence Crawford, he should be fighting Garcia Porter winner. Yeah, they're going to fight in September and then be ready to make a cross-network deal to fight in October. That's just not sensible. Keith Thurman versus Terence Crawford, don't get me wrong. The suggestions some of you guys have with these fights, they're good fights, but they're not really realistic. Keith Thurman's been MIA since March of last year, you know, when the first Creed movie came out or some shit. And that's not a realistic fight for Terence Crawford right away. You know, Errol Spence, they were trying to get the Mikey Garcia fight. I don't know what the latest is with that, but you got to be realistic. And anybody who's hating on this fight probably doesn't know Jose Benavidez enough, but he's tall. He comes from a fight family. His brother's the youngest world champion in boxing, or one of them. I don't know if anyone's broken that now, but he was the youngest champion in boxing. Jose Benavidez, I follow him on social media. He stays ready. You know, he's in shape. He's taller than Crawford. This is a good fight. Plus, you have the animosity. Jose Benavidez has an underrated jab too. Really good jab, and he has the mentality. It makes it very interesting, right? And don't quote me on this, but I think he has more experience above 140 than Terence Crawford does. Like, I think Benavidez has more fights above 140 pounds than Terence Crawford. Plus, like I said, he's big, so I have no problem with the fight. I think it's a really good fight. It's a hometown fight. It's a first title defense, and it goes to show you, if anything, this is Terence Crawford. One thing I respect about this man's fight game is he's constantly taking high risk. He's fighting the type of guys that are high risk, low reward for other people, and other people avoid those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like Jose Benavidez, no disrespect to him, but he's not a high he's not a high reward right now. He's a good fighter, but that's what makes him not the high reward, because you fight him, you could be in a dangerous, tough ass fight, but he's not gonna be like, you're not gonna get the paycheck you would get if you fought Canelo or somebody. You get what I'm saying? So Crawford keeps fighting these guys that are very dangerous, have elements of danger, but the reward for him is not like let's say, I'm gonna try to give you guys some examples. Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia. If Sean Porter beats Danny Garcia, he'll not only win a belt, but the danger will be worth it because you beat Danny Garcia, who only lost to Keith Thurman, right? So that's what I'm talking about. You're gonna get probably a career high payday or one of your top 3 paydays by fighting Danny Garcia. Sean Porter would, and he gets a belt and he'll get recognition. Terence Crawford, he's fighting a dangerous op, but at the end of the day, he's not gonna get necessarily the biggest paycheck unless just Top Rank hooks him up. So I respect Terence Crawford. He keeps taking these types of fights where, like, Felix Diaz is another one. Felix Diaz has been calling him out. You're not gonna get buku bucks necessarily or buku viewerships by fighting Felix Diaz. Real boxing fans will respect the hell out of you if you're able to beat him, but it's not like a mainstream casual known guy, you know what I'm saying? And this fight actually reminds me of Felix Diaz. Not saying that Benavidez fights like Felix Diaz, because he doesn't. He has totally different attributes, whereas Diaz is real short and Benavidez is tall. But the element that reminds me of it is you have Felix Diaz doing some trash talking, and he was one of the few guys in boxing that are actually calling out Terence Crawford and saying, I want that work. You know, a lot of people aren't really checking for it. There's a couple of Errol Spence that said he's open to fight him, but you don't really see too many top guys. There's the new Ray Robinson called him out, but then he just got knocked out by Ugas, who's fighting this week on the Garcia Porter card. So Benavidez his approach to this fight reminds me of Felix Diaz, because he was like one of the people taunting Terence Crawford and saying, hey, you ducking me, you don't want to fight me, you scared and stuff like that, and really confident about it. Now, we've seen what happened with Felix Diaz. Crawford should be the favorite here. I'm not saying that's the exact outcome of Benavidez. He's his own fighter, but the build-up at least reminds me of it, where you have a guy who's confident and aggressively calling out Terence Crawford or saying he wants to fight. And I give props to Benavidez for that, because, again, there's a lot of guys who they don't like Terence Crawford's style. I mean, no disrespect to Mikey Garcia. He's actually one of my favorites active fighters. But in my opinion, there's a reason you don't really hear Mikey Garcia calling for a Terence Crawford fight, because he knows him all too well. He fought him and lost to him in the amateurs, right? Mikey Garcia is talking about going to welterweight. He's talking about he would fight Pacquiao. He's talking about he would fight against Errol Spence, but I don't hear him mentioning Terence Crawford. So again, stylistically, Terence Crawford, people know what he does and what he does well, and I think a lot of people don't even want to bother with that type of style. You know, at least the guys on the top, not too many. So I give props to Benavidez for going towards the fire. You know, we seen how he looked versus Jeff Horn. I'm sure Benavidez seen it, and he's like, yeah, that's what I want. And that's the mark of a true fighter, because at the end of the day, he wants to take something. Everyone's giving Crawford a lot of praise and credit, and Benavidez is like, yeah, I could stop that. I can derail that. Can he do it? We're going to find out in October. But I'm looking forward to this fight. I just think it's a good fight, stylistically. Props to Terence Crawford on his new multi-year deal, and shout out to him and Benavidez for not just doing it, and that's the other thing. You got to respect these guys and be realistic. A lot of guys talk about it, and then behind closed doors, nothing happens. These dudes, a couple months ago, I think it was earlier this year, because I did a video about it, had the little altercation, run in and focus on your fight before you don't make your fight. Yo, you've been ducking me, right? And months later, they're actually fighting. That's boxing. That's boxing right there, because it ain't shit else to talk about. You said your piece, I said my piece, the world seen it and responded, and people said what they wanted about the beef, and now they're locking horns and about to fight each other. That's boxing. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes will do Twitter fingers like, oh, fuck you, I'll sleep you, blah, 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 spar me, you know, or whatever. And then business-wise or some reason happens where they don't even fight, or in the foreseeable future, they're not fighting. Shout out to Top Rank for this and the two fighters. I'm looking forward to it. Drop your thoughts. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.